Hello. Hi. I'm Snappy ASMR. How are you doing? How are you doing? Good. So today I'm gonna do a what I read in 2023 video because I apparently read a lot more than I actually realized that I did. So good for me, I guess. But that being said, I'm gonna kind of whiz through these books. So if you're looking for like an in-depth review of these books, it's not here. I'm just gonna be pretty much tapping on them and tracing and kind of just saying if I liked it or not, because I'm not very verbose when it comes to reviews. I find it kind of challenging to actually, like, as I'm clearly doing right now, find words to describe what I'm feeling or what I thought about something. I don't know why. Maybe I was burnt out from school and writing a million essays. So anyways, I'll get started, and in no particular order. First, we've got The Housekeeper and the Professor. It's got a pretty, I guess, cherry blossom tree, and then math symbols. Like, I really enjoyed this one. It's about a housekeeper who comes and works for a math-obsessed professor who has Alzheimer's, and it, like, you can only remember like a day at a time, and it's really sweet, and I think it played out kind of like a movie, and it's like a short movie. But I enjoyed. I give this a thumbs up. And this is Whale Day. Whale Day and Other Poems by Billy Collins. It's a book of poetry, and I saw this book in a Barnes & Noble years ago, and I was so drawn to the cover. I was like, I must have this book. However, I forgot about it and didn't get it for a long time. And then I eventually got it, and I read it. And I didn't really like the poems, which is a shame because I do like poetry a lot. I just thought that they were too simple. Like, it felt more like, this is what I saw today and I wrote about it. And there wasn't enough metaphorical, or like, I don't know, maybe it just wasn't for me. It went over my head, but it was not working for me. So I'm gonna thumbs down. Not that it was necessarily bad, but in my opinion, in terms of books I would read again, this is not one. And Nadia by Andre Breton. When I was in college for film studies, I had to read a few of his essays because he was like a big theory guy. See, this is what I mean. I can't talk. I do better when I've written it out and written down, but I was like, oh, I'll just film this video today. Anyways, it's like if you're into surrealism, this is like the starter book, I think. And it's kind of autobiographical of meeting a girl. I don't know. Once again, it kind of went over my head. But you see, there's pictures. And it's kind of like one of those things where it's like, if I put in a little bit more thought and a little bit more time to kind of find something to appreciate, or even find some understanding, I'm sure I would enjoy it more. However, who's got time for that? I read the book, and it wasn't really my thing. But maybe I'll revisit it at another time. So, anyways, are you still paying attention to me or my rambles? Am I losing you? Okay. This one is What We Talk About When We Talk About Love by Raymond Carver. I read this one a while ago, so I'm having a hard time remembering my thoughts on it. But I'm pretty sure it's just a bunch of short stories about, with the theme of love. There were some, I think, that I really liked, and there's some that weren't for me. That's kind of what you get with short stories. They can be a mixed bag. Yeah, another reason that I'm having a hard time talking about things is because I read them months and months ago, and I read a lot apparently this year, so. Okay, this one is Self-Help by Lori Moore. I remember really liking this. I remember really liking this. Something about the way she wrote her voice kind of worked with how I think, like my kind of train of thought, which I guess is like complimentary of me because I thought her writing was really nice, but it's true. So I would recommend this one. It's kind of, is it autobiographical? Kind of. It probably is very much inspired by her life, at least. It's kind of depressing, but it's a nice collection of like stories about loss and kind of figuring out yourself. I liked it. This is another one of those books that I've wanted to read for years, and I finally did. So exciting. It's L-M-N-O-P. L-M-N-O-P. Yes, like the alphabet. L-M-N-O-P. Snappy. And then there's like stuff on the back. A lot of these books are become well loved, and I also buy used books, so they're not in the best shape. But anyways, this book is super interesting. It's probably one of the most interesting books I read this year. The author slowly takes away. The author, Mark Dunn. He slowly takes away one letter of the alphabet per like chapter. And he can't use that letter anymore to write. It's so interesting. It's such an interesting challenge. So, at first it probably starts off a little easy, but then as letters start to go, he has to find clever ways of communicating. It's so interesting. So I loved this one. This was great. I know, people love this one. The Song of Achilles. So, as someone who enjoys a good romance here and there, great. However, I think like the most popular criticism of this book or like one of the ones that I've seen that I definitely agree with, is that she's really good at writing, I think, the characters and like her take on them and their like love story, but she was not very good at writing like a war, which is okay in a way, because that's a whole other skill to be able to write, especially a war that went on for like what, 10 years. But I still really enjoyed it. It still made me cry a lot. So if you haven't read this yet and you like Greek myths and you like star-crossed lovers, I would recommend. This one is still in it's not a library book anymore, but it's still in like its library. Amazing. And it is the book of difficult fruit. Arguments for the tart, tender, and unruly with recipes. So the deal with this book is the author, Kate Lebo, maybe. The author writes about fruit that is not as well known. Like, you're not finding a strawberry in here. Like, let me see an example. Like gooseberry. So she writes about gooseberries. She also writes about her life and how that fruit kind of ties into it. And it can get pretty personal, which I enjoy. And then she gives you a recipe. So this is for gooseberry cheese. Interesting. And honestly, a lot of these recipes are very like homesteady, cottagecore, do-it-yourself, which is not something that I really have access to right now, but maybe sometime in my life. So I'm definitely holding on to this book because I enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was a brilliant idea, and I definitely love a fruit, and I love food. I love cooking. So it was definitely the book for me. This one is by my favorite author, Anthony Dower. I should know my favorite author's name. I think it's Dower. And it is Cloud. Cuckoo. Land. So I loved this book. And not just because he's my favorite. It's a big one. It's about, I think, 3 stories, and set in different periods of time. One in the past, one in kind of present day, and one in the future. And you're like, there's no way these stories are going to tie together, and then they do. They do in very creative ways, and I love that. So it's kind of magical in that way. It also feels very real. And his writing is just the best. His prose is fantastic. So, another snappy recommended book. This is exciting times. This one was great. If you're into realistic fiction and romance, this bad boy. Has there always been a third toothbrush? Interesting. Because it's kind of a love triangle but it's done in a way that's not super boring, and it's not like, how is she gonna choose between these two guys who look exactly alike? It's not like that at all. It's actually bisexual, which is great. But I liked it. I thought it was super like spicy, not necessarily like sexually, but it was just so intriguing. So, thumbs up. This one's a classic. It's Player Piano. It's about people's jobs being taken over by, robots and AI. So, super relevant for today. And I didn't know going in that it was going to be really funny. It was really funny. I actually laughed. I laughed out loud a few times. But it's a classic for a reason. I liked it a lot. I just remembered that I made myself a smoothie. And I was gonna drink it. But I forgot. I remember why I made this smoothie. Because I got 100 subscribers. Thank you. That's so cool. And I was gonna do something with snap peas, but they're not in season. They're spring vegetables, so obviously I couldn't find them anywhere. So I was like, well, I guess I'll make a green smoothie, and it kind of works, but there's no peas in here. It's spinach. And it's spinach and pineapple, banana, orange, and milk. Almond milk. So yeah. Hotel. Dulac by Anita Bruckner. You can see all these books, by the way, if you haven't noticed, have a thrift book sticker still on them. I should take those off. So I think I enjoyed this. It was pretty slow, so if you're not into that sort of thing, I don't know if it's for you. But it is short. It's just kind of like the day-to-day mundane living in this hotel, and just all the characters that come in and out of it, which sometimes can be very peaceful and a little mysterious, and just has this like vintage feel to it, which I enjoy. So this was a thumbs up for me. Here's one of my nonfiction books I read this year. It's called Rat Island. Predators in Paradise and the World's Greatest Wildlife Rescue. And it's about islands all over the world, but specifically, I think most of it took place in islands like outside New Zealand. Like those little islands out there. And how when rats got introduced, like the native wildlife just disappeared because rats are crazy and they eat everything, and they're very vicious in doing so, and they eat a lot very fast. So it's about scientists who go out to kind of save these native birds. Sorry, I'm not being specific because I read this over the summer, I think. But they save the birds and work really hard to save some species, and then all that craziness that comes along with doing something like that. I thought this was really interesting. As someone who really likes animals and plants and stuff. It was interesting to see how like just introducing one species, but also kind of like the most notorious species can just completely wipe out others. And I think that's really interesting and kind of sad. But there are some hopeful stories in here. It's not all doom and gloom. Then I read Victoria Grimm. I'm catching up on some classics that I might have missed in like high school or something. By Oscar Wilde, if you didn't know. I liked it. I actually didn't know that it was a horror. Or like had horror elements, because I thought that the beginning was so pretty. Like image wise, and then it gets really creepy really fast. It's just uneasy. I liked it. I understand why it's well loved. Then this one is Exit West. This one is about two refugees who are fleeing a undisclosed country, but somewhere like in the Middle East, and they exit through these doors, and these doors lead them into safer countries, and it's just about like the struggles of being a refugee and having to flee your home country and all the pain and struggle that comes with that. I liked it. However, I guess I understand why the author didn't choose a specific country, but I kind of wish that he had, because then it could have been more specific of like specific struggles. But I know it's kind of supposed to be like an overarching, but I feel like that would have made it more interesting book. But it was good. I read this I think this is the most recent thing I read. Maybe you should talk to someone. I loved this. I loved it so much. It's about a therapist and what leads her to go to therapy, and then she also talks about her clients. It's very much fictionalized, very much, it's leaning towards fiction, because obviously for confidentiality reasons you can't be like actually telling the stories of your clients that specifically, and so she has to change the characters quite a bit to a point where it's like, this is definitely based on somebody, but at what point does it stop being an autobiography and turns into fiction? I don't know. Anyways, I thought it was really, really good. I thought all the stories, however real they were very intriguing. There's definitely some stuff to take away from it, I think. It was funny at points. It was very sad at others. I liked it. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. The Name of the Wind. This took me a long time to read because it's big and it's fantasy and it's, it's just a lot. It's the first of a series, and I really, really liked it because it felt unique. It's still fantasy, it still had fantasy tropes. The character is a little bit insufferably like perfect. Well, he screws up sometimes, but like the magic system was different than anything I've ever read, and it was very well like built in the world. So if you like fantasy, this is a great book. I can't wait to read the second one as soon as I get my hands on it. Hopefully not before I forget everything that happened in the first one, because apparently I have short-term memory loss. But yeah. Okay, I think that was all. subscribers. It means a lot to me. And if you're not subscribed, feel free to do so. I'll continue posting at least once a week.